Students, till now we have learned how to represent the data in an ungrouped frequency tabular form, right? Now we'll be dealing with a grouped frequency table, and you will understand the difference between a grouped and an ungrouped frequency table, right? Now first of all, let me read the question for you. We'll understand this with the help of a question. 30 children were asked about the number of hours they watched TV programs in the previous week, and the data that was recorded is given here, right? We need to make a group frequency distribution for this, right? So we know in an ungrouped frequency table, what we used to do was, we used to write individually every hour and the number of students or the frequency for that particular hour, right? If we have a huge data, here we have the data for 30 students, right? If we have data for 100 students, then doing that process individually for each and every observation or each and every entity would be practically impossible, right? So to make it easy for us, or to save some time, what we do is we divide the number of hours into groups, right? So what are we going to do is, I can see from this data that the minimum value is 1 and the maximum value is 15, right? So I'll be making groups from 0 to 15. The maximum value, sorry, is 17. So I'll be making groups so that all these values, they are included in those groups, right? As it is mentioned here in this question that I need to make a group of like this, like 5 to 10, right, whose class width should be 5. First of all, let me make an arbitrary group 5 to 10, right? This is a group, right? All the students who are watching TV programs for, let's say, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours and 9 hours, right? All the students who are watching TV programs for these many hours, they will fall in this group, right? This kind of group is called as a class interval. It is called a class interval, right? And phi is called the lower class limit. Lower class limit will represent lower class limit by LCL, right? The lower class limit from which the class starts, and 10 is called the upper class limit, right? Upper class limit will be represented by UCL, right? So we have a group. The group is called a class interval. This is called lower class interval. This is called upper class interval, right? And all the students who are watching TV program for these many hours, like 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, they will fall in this group, right? Now there is one more term that we'll talk about, that is class width, right? Class width is nothing but these values, right? 5, 6, 7 and 8 and 9, they are included in this group. So the number of values that are included in the group, they are called the class width. So the number of values that are included are 5. So I can say the class width is 5, right? If 10 also would have been included in this group, right? For example, a student who is watching TV program for 10 hours is included in this group, then the class width would have been 6, right? Because 6 values are included in this group, right? So similarly, we'll be forming class intervals so that the data is condensed and we save some time. So let us start with the process. Right? Now in the question, it is given to us that we need to form class intervals with class width 5, right? So we'll be starting with 0 to 5, right? 0 to 5. Now, how many students they are included in this class width? Before that, first let me form all the class intervals, right? The next class interval will be 5 to 10, next will be 10 to 15, 15 to 20, right? These are the 4 class intervals that I need to form. Why? Because the maximum value is 17, which will lie in this class interval. I don't need to go beyond 20, right? Now you can see that the upper class limit is 5 here and the lower class limit is 5 here. So if a student, he watches the program for 5 hours, in which group or in which class interval should he be included, right? By convention, we assume that the student should be included in that group in which the number is the lower class limit. That is, 5 will be included in this group, 5 to 10. 10 won't be included in this group, but it will be included in this group, 10 to 15. And 15 will be included in this group, that is 15 to 20, right? We have formed nothing but continuous class intervals. Now what are continuous class intervals? When the upper class limit and the lower class limit of two consecutive classes, they are equal, then they are called as consecutive class intervals, right? You will be learning about consecutive class intervals. These are called consecutive class intervals. When the upper limit and the lower limit of consecutive classes, they are equal, then they are called consecutive class intervals. You will be learning about them in detail, right? Now we have formed these class intervals, right? And we have also learned that 5 won't belong here, it will belong in this category, 10 will belong to this category, and 15 will belong to this category. So let us start with the process. The first student, he watches the TV program for 1 hour only. So 1 belongs to this category, that is 0 to 5. Now we'll use a method that is called a tally mark, right? We'll put 1 for every student that falls in each category, right? So 1 falls in this category, so let me cancel 1. The next student, 6 falls in this category, 5 to 10, so I'm going to write 1 here. Next student, 2, he falls in this category, 0 to 5, so I'm going to write one more 1 here, right? Next student, 3 falls in the same category. Next student, 5. Now as we have already discussed, 5 will fall in this category or in this class interval, so I'll put one more 1 here. 12 will fall in this class interval, 10 to 15. 5 will fall in this class interval again. 8 will fall again in this class interval, 5 to 10. 4 will fall in this class interval, 0 to 4, right? And 8 will fall in this class interval, 5 to 10, right? Now because you are making ones in the tally marks, these are called as tally marks, this help us to count the numbers, right? Now after you have obtained 4 students who fall in this class interval, the 5th one you are going to make it a slant one. Why? Because it will be easier for you to calculate afterwards, you will be seeing it, right? So the 5th one goes slant. Now the 10 will fall in this category, 3 will fall in this category, right? So the 5th one I am be marking as slant, right? 4 will fall in this category, 12 will fall in this category, 2 will fall in this category again, 8 will fall in this category, 15 will fall in this category, it won't fall in this category but in the last category, right? And 1 will fall in the first class interval, 17, which is the highest number of hours, will fall in the last class interval, 6 will lie in this class interval, 3 will lie in this class interval, the very first one, 2 will lie in the very first class interval. Now again we have got 4 ones here, so the 5th one will be a slant, right? So we had 2 here. Now 8 will fall in this class interval, which is 5 to 10. 5 will fall in this class interval again. 9 will fall in this class interval again, so the 5th one will be like this, right? 6 will fall in this class interval again. 8 will fall, 7 will also fall in this class interval. So I can say that 8 and 7, they are also falling in this class interval. Now 14 and 12, they will fall in this class interval. 14 will go there and 12 will also go there. So let us verify. Now how many students we have? Since I have a bundle of 5 here and another bundle of 5, I can say I have total 10 students, right, who belong to the first class interval. And here I have 2 bundles of 5 and 3 ones. So it will be 5 into 2, 10, 10 plus 3, 13. Here I have only 1 bundle, so it will be 5. Here I have 2 students, so it will be 2, right? So in total, how many students do I have? 10 plus 13, 23, plus 5, 28, and plus 2, 30. So initially we were given that 30 children's data is taken. So I can conclude from this that the tally marks that we have made or the number of students that we have made is correct, because the total is coming out to be 30, right? So this is called as group frequency table. Why it is called as group frequency table? Because instead of taking individual values, we are condensing the data and forming groups or class intervals, right? We are forming groups or class intervals, CI, right? So this is another type of representation of data, and as you can see that here our time is saved, right? We were dealing with 30 students. Even if we were dealing with 100 students, we would have condensed the data, right? And our time would have also been saved, right? And if we want to know how many students are watching the TV for more than 15 hours, I can definitely say that there are only and only 2 students, right? If I had asked this question before when I was dealing with ungrouped frequency table, then it would have taken some time for me to calculate this, right? So this is nothing but grouped frequency table, right? Now one more observation you can make from this is you could have formed class intervals like this as well. The class intervals could have been 0 to 5, right? Let me mark them here, 0 to 5, right? 6 to 11, right? In this case 0 to 5 you are including 5 in this, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Let me start from 5 only. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 they are included in this, and in 6 to 11, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? How many numbers do we have? We have 6 numbers. So we'll start from 0 only. What I mean to say is that instead of having continuous class intervals, you can have class intervals which are discontinuous. In this case, right, 0 to 5, and the other class interval is 6 to 11. As you can see that the upper class limit here is not equal to the lower class limit here. These are not equal. So we can say that this is not a consecutive class interval, right? So if you have a student who is watching the TV program for 5 hours, then it will definitely lie in the first class interval only, right? 5 will be included in this only, right? Because the next class interval, it does not have a 5 there. And if a student is watching a program for 6 hours or 11 hours, 11 will be included in this and 6 will be included in this, right? So here the class size, as you can see, would have been 6, right? The class size is the number of values that are included in the group, right? So the class size is 6 and the upper class limits here are included in this class interval. So that is the difference between consecutive class interval and non-consecutive class interval, right? In consecutive class interval, the upper class interval or upper class limit is not included, but in non-consecutive, the upper class limit, it is included in that particular class interval. So this was all about group frequency table.